Hello YouTube. So today we'll be solving the question majority element in Geeks for Geeks. So let's look at what this question reads. Given an array A of n elements, find the majority element in the array. A majority element in an array A of size n is an element that appears more than n by 2 times in the array. Okay, so let's look at a sample example. And in this particular example, we have n equals 3. So n by 2 is going to give you 3 by 2, which is equal to 1. So you need the frequency of an element which is greater than 1 basically. But then in this array, the frequency of all the elements is just 1. So we're just outputting -1 here. If you take this example, then n is equal to 5. So n by 2 is going to give you 5 by 2, which is equal to 2. So we basically need an element which has frequency greater than 2. The frequency of 3 here, so by frequency I just mean count, and the count of 3 in this particular array is 3, 1, 2 and 3. The count of 1 is just 1, the count of 2 is just 2. So ultimately we just need to return 3. That's the majority element. And we are expected to solve this question in time complexity big of n and space complexity big of 1, right? So let's look at how we can solve this question. So let's take the example that we already took before, that is 3, 1, 3, 3 and 2. So ideally we can solve this question using the brute force, that is having 2 indices I and j, iterate through the entire array and then have a count variable, update the count variable whenever you hit the same elements. But then that I believe it's going to take big of n square time complexity, but then we're not interested in solving this question in a big of n square time complexity. So we need to look at another alternative. So another good alternative might be using hash map, and that is because the lookup time in hash map is just big of 1. So what you need to do in a hash map is just you need to store the count. You need to store the element and then its respective count. So it's going to have something like 1 comma 1 and then 2 comma 1 and then 3 comma 3. So this is going to be this is how your hash map is going to look. And so once after this hash map is constructed, we can simply just iterate over the key values in the hash map and then check if the respective key's value is greater than n by 2, and if it's greater than n by 2, we just need to output this, we just need to return this particular key, and if it's not, we just need to return -1. But then the catch with hash map is, however we just are iterating through the array once, it's going to give you a time complexity of big of n, but then the space complexity is also going to be big of n, since we are actually storing a hash map in memory. So the space complexity is also going to be big of n. So what's the alternative to solve this question in big of n time complexity and then in big of 1 space complexity? Well, there does exist an algorithm called as the Moore's voting algorithm. It's spelled as Moore's voting algorithm, but then this particular Moore's voting algorithm is beyond our scope of understanding, because if you haven't seen this question previously and then you're asked this question in an interview, the interviewer obviously doesn't expect you to solve this question using Moore's voting algorithm, because it's really complicated, and then he just wouldn't expect you to solve this using that particular algorithm, but rather solve it using hash map. So for the time being, we're going to ignore the space complexity and then solve this particular question using hash map. So first we need to implement this hash map. So let's go ahead, hash map of integer equals new. Let's name our hash map and integer. So after this is done, we need to populate the hash map, and how we can do that is we just need to run all the elements in that array and we just need to do map dot put of I comma 1. So what this essentially is going to do is that whenever you have the first element, it's going to do 3 colon 1, and then the second element, whenever it encounters the second element, it's going to update with 1 colon 1, and then when it encounters the third element, it's going to do nothing but then just do another 3 comma 1. But then since 3 is already included, it's once again going to give you 3 comma 1. But then we don't require this 3 comma 1, right? You actually require 3 comma 2 here, because the count of 3 at this point is 2, but then in your hash map it's only, but then in our implementation it's just going to say 1. So how we can pretty much solve this issue is we just need to check if the key is already included in the map. So how we can say that is, if map dot contains key of 5, so if the key is already there, then what we need to do is map dot put of the corresponding key and then its value plus 1. So we just need to increment the previous value. So here 3 comma 1 will become 3 comma 2, right? So that's what we are doing here. But then if the element is not encountered before, then we just we can just use the trivial case, that is I comma 1. Alright, so this should populate the hash map, and once after the hash map is populated, we need to check for the condition. So how we can check for the condition is, we once again need to iterate through the entire array. I is less than size I plus plus, and we're going to see if map dot get of I the value of I. So we are actually getting the value of I, and then we're going to compare, it's going to be A of I is just the index. If it's greater than size by 2, then we just need to return this element A of I. If nothing like that occurs, then we just need to return -1. So this should be solving the question. Let's check. Okay, we having okay, oh sorry, I've implemented the hash map wrongly. Apologies for that. Oops. Okay, I think we've missed okay, we've missed another yeah, I think now we're good to go. We've missed another curly braces. I think we're done here. Yeah, cool. So yeah, so this is the idea behind solving this question. You just need to implement a hash map, which basically is nothing but a frequency map, which stores the key current element and then its corresponding count. So once that is done, you just check for the all the elements in that array and then check for its respective value, and if the value is greater than the size of 2, you just return that particular element. So that's it. That's the end of this video. If you like this video, please hit that like button and also subscribe to my channel, as it helps me grow. Yep, so that's it. Thank you.